Call this meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 6,000 videos and pictures. All righty. Brian, you are good. Thank you. Audience introductions.
I'm Sarah Thurston. I am the Athletic and Student Activities Director.
Kaylin Thompson, Jericho High School Principal.
Justin Onofrio, RSU 56 School Resource Officer.
Charlie Swan, Principal at DES.
Jay Nicholson, Bus Driver.
Stacy Gilbert, 6th grade teacher, bar coordinator at the middle school.
Karina Lee, Carthage resident.
Larry Whittington, Concerned Citizen of RSU 56.
Andrew Tripp, local carpenter.
Brian Johnston, I am a taxpayer, parent, and employee.
Heidi Connolly, Director of Special Education Services for the district.
Welcome, everyone. We do not have any adjustments to the agenda. So we'll go right to the consideration of the minutes. The minutes of the October 22, 2024 board meeting. Could I get a motion, please? Please turn your mic since it is being recorded. Thank you. Forgot. Thank you, Liz. Second?
Second.
Dawn, comments, questions, revisions, and give you a minute. Seeing no revisions or anything? All those in favor? Opposed? Non-voting? Thank you, Brad. All right, public comment. This is the time the public can make a comment. We do not usually answer, and it's respectfully, you use the mic. So because we are, what do you call it? Streaming, live streaming, but not interaction. So is anybody like to make a comment? And you're going to, thank you, Charlie, turning it on. Okay.
Now it is. So I won't come to speak to you for administrative report for a while because I just had mine. I just wanted to share a positive thing from Derigo Elementary School from last Friday. We had 50 veterans in the building and we were able to honor them with breakfast. And so I have some thank yous that I want to say publicly. First of all, to Region 9, who we partner with, and their culinary arts program does the breakfast for the veterans. And they've been working with us for probably 7 or 8 years in that endeavor. And thank you to Mr. H, the band director at the high school. He brought over the high school band and they played a few numbers and sounded fantastic. And then there was certainly a ton of thank yous to people in the school building who helped decorate and help coordinate. We raised $2,500 for Operation Reboot, which is part of our community outreach that we do each year for Veterans Day. So just wanted to share that positive thing going on at our school, and happy Veterans Day to anybody listening that is a veteran out there.
Thank you, Charlie. Larry?
As of November of this year, we have entered this new political environment that has vowed to dismantle the Constitution of the United States, and that gives me more concerns today than ever before. The new law of the land is now called Project 2025. This will affect all aspects of the American lives, and public education is not immune. Some in this new administration have stated in public that they will refuse and/or stop federal funding if schools have vaccine programs to protect children. Project 2025 has stated misleading information that tries to invoke fear in the general public and attempt to destroy the Department of Education. They have stated schools could be required to assist a child with social or medical gender transition without parental consent, or to withhold information from parents about a child's social transition, for example, changing their name or using pronouns. They will revoke corresponding guidance and regulations and refrain from imposing general COVID-19 mask mandates because it causes harm. In our schools, the question of parental authority over their children's education is a simple one. Schools serve parents. That's not the other way around. The noxious tenets of critical race theory and gender ideology should be excised from curricula in every public school in this country. These statements are going far to the right, unlike anything we've ever seen before. But at RSU 56, we should be looking to the future with glimmers of hope. We need to make RSU a memorable learning experience for all students, and you have the power. And that power should be used to promote education in a safe, non-judgmental environment. But there have been some comments made in the past that have indicated just the opposite. What should concern voters who have given the school board of RSU 56 an opportunity to make tough decisions is this. There have been some board members in the past that have voiced some of the verbiage similar to that of Project 2025. There is no consensus that masks work for COVID. Some members have read excerpts that regarding academic learning that takes a backseat to social, emotional, gender, and race. It has also been recorded that if teachers can't control their classroom, that needs to be handled, but they don't feel that the need to gender, sexuality, and CRT should have a safe environment. Some have used media resources that have disseminated misinformation and lies to deceive the public and this board. It has been stated in public that some want a common sense education in school focused on academics rather than race, pronouns, gender, and sexual orientation. A board member stated, "I expect schools to be the halls of truth. Stand up for parents' right." Knowledge is power. Words have meanings. Our students hear and watch how the members of this board are reacting to their concerns. You were not elected to use this forum to promote a personal political agenda. You were elected to make sure that our dedicated teachers have the tools to educate our students in a safe, fear-free environment with respect for all students. Quote, "If there are students at Dirigo, they need to be respected so that respect may be returned." You were elected to make sure our tax monies are spent wisely with a fiscal responsibility. You were elected to uphold your oath of office and support the Constitution of the United States. Anything less is not acceptable. I cannot speak for others in this community, but I will be listening.
Thank you, Larry. Anyone else? Heather, come up to the podium. And this is public comment. We are not answering. So
Yep, that's okay.
thank
Okay.
you.
Hi, my name is Heather Bishop. I am a resident of Carthage, community member. This is my son Gage. We are here tonight on behalf of a decision that was made by the principal to not put his senior picture in the yearbook. And we would like, there's not a policy against it. And I have his senior picture here to show you guys what he would like to put in the yearbook. We both feel like he deserves, this is not unsafe. Super nervous, sorry, I just kind of had an episode. So can I hand these out to you guys to look at? Okay.
Your public comment.
So Gage is a senior here. He does outdoor skills and leadership in Region 9. And he's planning to go for his guides test, hopefully in December, January.
Okay.
The picture that you guys are all holding is the senior picture he would like in the yearbook. It's being denied by the superintendent because she sees it as him holding a weapon. And we see it as him holding a tool in the future of what he would like to do. So we would like for it to be there's not a policy on this. And either I would like to either see a policy created if this isn't going to be allowed, or just to allow it. Miss Doherty would have liked to have been here tonight in support of this decision. I do have some information that she emailed that she needed approval from superintendent and principal for Jostens in case there was community, in case the community disagreed with seeing it, or if there was like other opinions. I did do my own personal community friend sort of post on Facebook, and I asked if people were threatened by this image, if they felt like it depicted Gage in a negative way. But I feel like his hunting rifle is sort of being weaponized, even though they can be used as a weapon, that it is not what it is in the picture. It's a tool for the use of his future. Gage, do you want to say anything? Why you feel that it should be in the yearbook? There are other pictures of other students in the yearbooks that have guns. I would have liked to have had some of those pictures here. Unfortunately, I don't. But I guess I'm a little flustered right now. I kind of got into a car accident on my way here, so.
All right, thank you, Heather.
Okay.
Anyone else for public comment? All right, communications,
We have no new communications.
old business Region 9 update.
On Region 9, we met this past Wednesday. We went through the regular board meeting that we have once a month, the first Wednesday of each month. I'll kind of give you a synopsis of what we went through. It started out at the very beginning. One of our directors, Wayne Thurston, informed the board that he wants to resign from the finance committee. So we, at that time, proceeded to look to see if we had another member that would be interested in filling this place. We ended up at later on in the meeting, but I'll finish off this part of it. We recommended Brian Key, who's now our new one of our new members of the finance committee. We got two different, we had two different staff reports. Curtis Halleck took us through the new metals trades program. He kind of went over what a typical day was for the students there. We got a chance to take a walk over. All the board members got to see what these new buildings are looking like. It's been a vast improvement from the first time I saw it a month and a half ago. Things are moving along quite well. As with any project, it takes longer than you expect, but they're still working, trying to stay on task. The second project that we got to see, a second report, was from Jim Coolidge, who does building construction. This part is not part of one of these new buildings, but we're just going and seeing what some of the different programs do. Kind of got a out view of what his program is like. So during each meeting that we're having, we requested his board to meet different members of the programs so they could report out to us, as it did last month and told about the early childhood one. Moving along, we also had the superintendent said that the advisory committee's been meeting, so that is moving along. As of right now, our enrollment was at 220. There's 119 from Mountain Valley, 60 from Dirigo, and 41 from Telstar. We also had a Halloween walk. There was 836 people that walked through. It was a bumper amount of people. They were busy. And they have, and I've heard nothing but great and raving reviews. People have been so tickled about what went on. We're also, as with any district, dealing with our audit and going through, getting things going along with that. We've been also, the superintendents, along with the committees, have been working on getting the standards put in line, because after this year, we'll be having standards for each program of what it will be offering, what will be accepted by each school, so that it will be clear cut of what each project, I should say, each program is going to give the student for accreditations for the graduation. The front building that you see as you drive by, the greenhouse, we had a little hiccup on there at one time. Believe it or not, the construction company used the wrong type of wood. I didn't know there was a wrong type of wood, but got a little information on that. But they were able to address the issue, and then now we're moving forward with it. That little part put them behind because they had to do some different adjustments to that whole thing. Other connections to it are going along well. As you could see, at one time, we had to dig across the road to hook up to the sewer. We've got power going to everything, so things are moving along quite well. The camp that I showed you last time, that and part of the outdoor rec part, the camp that they bought, they've in the process of groundbreaking to build a little storage shed so that they'll be able to keep all their equipment and so forth out at the camp. I think that was it. Charlie had mentioned about the veterans and with what Region 9 had to do. We also had 2 veterans on our committee and members that we gave them a little gift and an appreciation for all that they've done. And that's about it.
Thank you. Any questions for Bruce? Thank you. All right, new business. Hi, Natalie. That you wrote, you emailed, you were texted. Presentation. It's just Bree. Come on up. I was looking for Bree.
Everyone else failed. All right, I do have a printout for everyone. What are you trying to say? All right, so I'll let you all get a copy. I can start at the beginning. So just a note that all staff at DES did have input in this presentation, oh God. Okay. Including our special ed director and Mr. Swan reviewed it as well, just before I came and presented it all. I will say it's a little wordy, but welcome to the special education world. So that's why you have a printout so that you can look at it later. If you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to me. So first, who am I? I just like to introduce myself. So I'm Brianne Johnston. My students at school call me Miss Bree. Some people are opposed to that, but when I started working, there were a lot of Johnsons there at school. So I am known as Miss Bree at school. I primarily work with life skills and behavior at our school for K-5. I'm a certified special education teacher with a master's degree in special education. I actually started off working at DES as a long-term sub and then moved to EdTech 3 because I had my bachelor's. And then while working, went back to school and got my master's. I live here in Dixfield. I have a husband who also works here and a 14-year-old son, Lane, who is a freshman here at DES. We have a cat named Norman, who we love very much. And my favorite things are camping, spending time with friends and family, and watching my son play sports. So our staff at DES, we have 4 special education teachers. We have 12 EdTech 3s. We have 1 occupational therapist, 1 physical therapist who is contracted out, 1 social worker who's contracted from Oxford County Mental Health Services, one school psychologist who's contracted as well, one BCBA that we work with when needed, who is contracted. She comes when we need her. And we have one Ed Tech 1 who does our speech services. So she is with the kids while they're on telespeech. And then we have our telespeech therapy through Maine Health. So this is kind of how we are a little bit broken up in our building. So we have life skills and emotional disabilities together. So we have 2 special ed teachers that do that, and we have 9 Ed Tech 3s that are in that area. Related services in our school, we have 1 OT, 1 PT, 1 social worker, 1 BCBA, and 1 Ed Tech 1 that helps with speech therapy. We also have resource rooms that have 2 special ed teachers, and each special ed teacher has 1 Ed Tech. So at DES, we have 60 special ed students right now. Our numbers fluctuate daily. We have 3 special education students that are out of district placements right now. So 1 is at Margaret Murphy Center and 1 is at WFRP in Rumford. So our students range in needs based on disabilities and what their IEP dictates. I already said this, but our numbers fluctuate throughout the year. So we have students that move in, students that return from out of district placement, students that qualify during the school year due to their academic or behavior, and then students who meet their goal and dismissed, which is our goal, is to work ourselves out of a job. So I just wanted to put this up here just so you know all names have been changed. I actually used Toy Story just because I asked my students and they thought that would be fun. So this is just an example of an IEP. Like I said, it's really small on here. I apologize for that, but this is what we are guided by, what we teach. We also write these. They're very in-depth, but this has all of our students' accommodations, all their services. It also has progress notes, goals, what we're going to do to meet those goals. So it's a pretty important legal document right here. I just wanted you guys to get a look at what it actually looks like. So we have our special ed teachers at DES are also case managers. So this is some of our duties throughout the day in the school year. So we manage our ed techs. We manage schedules for us, the ed techs, and the students, which gets a little complicated. We also run our own IEP meetings. Some students have 2 or 3 a year, it depends, but every student at least has an annual meeting every year. Every 3 years they get reevaluated, and that determines if they still qualify. We also schedule our own IEP meetings, so including the parents, related services, and outside services. We have to get them all in one place at the same time with an administrator. After the IEP meeting, we do all our own paperwork. So before the meeting, a notice goes out that says this is when the meeting is, this is who's going to be there. After the meeting, we have to find coverage for the classroom teacher because you have to have classroom teacher at an IEP meeting. So we prep for the meeting, we do a draft IEP, we have to get things that are signed that need to get signed before. For people who can't be there, there has to be an excusal form if they're on the student's IEP team. And there's also releases that have to get signed for outsider providers so that we can communicate with them. So this is just about running the IEP. So we facilitate the IEP meetings. Our administrator usually takes notes for us, which is great because we do not remember it all. We have to complete a written notice, which is basically the notes of the meeting. So we go through that, we complete it, and then it gets mailed out. The IEP needs to be written and approved. I'm going to tell you a little bit about timelines in a minute. There's also forms called an adverse impact or a specific learning disability form that has to be completed. And these basically say why we're saying the student qualifies and how it adversely impacts their education at school. We also implement the new IEP. So usually annually there's new goals, there's new services. We have to make sure everyone knows what is happening. Obviously, we need to inform the team of the student updates, so the classroom teacher, the ed techs, and a lot in our world, rearranging has to happen. So if a student adds services or decreases services or any of that, changes happen. So I always make a joke that I never print my schedule because it changes pretty much daily, but that's just our world. So this is just a note about the deadlines. So our deadlines are made by the Department of Education. So being late or missing paperwork really is not an option. It has to be done in timelines. So the special education regulations require that the written notice, which is the notes of the meeting, has to be to the parent within 7 calendar days. Our director asked that they get mailed home within 3 to 5 so that we have a little bit of a window to meet those deadlines. The IEP has to be submitted or in the parent's hands within 21 school days. So we must turn it into the director. She compliance reviews it. If we have some errors, it gets sent back and we have to fix it. So she likes to review it within 14 days or 2 weeks from the meeting. So these deadlines are very tight, but it makes it difficult, to be honest, to find time during the day when you're teaching kids or handling behavior. So to be honest, a lot of it gets done at home or on our own time because we don't have time during the day to do it. It's just how it works. So also we teach groups. So their SDI is specially designed instruction. So this is the services that the student gets on their IEP. It's all written as specially designed instruction. So reading, writing, math, social skills, and so on. We maintain our check and check out system, which is we're a PBIS school. So tier 3 is for our special ed students. Basically, it's an incentive chart. I'm going to show you an example in a minute. We maintain data tracking sheets for our behavior students. I'm going to show you one of those too. Every trimester, every IEP goal and objectives need progress notes. So these go attached to the report card that gets sent home. So students who have only academics with us will only get the progress notes. So sometimes the report card will look blank. So we make sure we tell the parents that because sometimes they panic a little bit. So we assist ed techs with behavior support, which right now is a big one at our school, and we attend committee meetings. So we like to try to make sure one of us is on committees, the PBIS team, the student success team for academics, the student success team for behavior, and then we have a member on our leadership team. So this is about our ed techs. I did ask them to contribute as well. So this comes from them. But all of our ed techs are ed tech 3s except for our speech ed tech, which means that they can prep, plan, and when supervised by a certified teacher. So the ed tech 1, she helps kids access teller speech. So she'll go get them from the class and bring them and get them on the iPad. But the speech therapist does all of the service. At times, ed tech shower, dress, and toilet our students based on their individual needs. Staff also attend special recess and lunch with them. So for some of our ed techs, their only break is lunch. They also plan and prep for their students who do work outside of the classroom. So our ed tech 3s, if they are running a group, they are doing the planning for that group. If they're doing individual with like our life skills, they are in charge of planning all of that. Obviously, we check in with them with those plans. So they also are in charge of data tracking. So we have academic goals, and behavior sheets. And we have them track it for us so that when we fill out our progress reports, it's a little bit easier on us. So this is just a quick glimpse at an ed tech schedule. Like I said, the names are Toy Story, so it's pretty interesting. But this is just to give you a glimpse. In the life skills and behavior department, our schedules, we like to do AM and PM. This gives the students a break from staff, and this also gives staff a break from the students. So usually you'll see techs will switch. They'll be with a student one-on-one in the AM, and then they'll have lunch and they'll switch to somebody else. We also year to year, if we keep the same ed techs, we don't like to have the same ed tech with the same student more than like 2 years in a row, just so that our students and staff get to see the majority of our students. So this is resource room. I actually used to have a resource room, but this came from our two, Miss Mary and Miss Richards. So they provide our small group SDI, so reading, writing, and math. Students are placed in the groups based on data, placement tests, and needs, and groups are formed around them. So oftentimes we share students. It does get a little tricky, but there's already a group for a student. We're not going to create a whole new group. We're just going to share. That's one thing we do really well at DES as a team. We work really well together sharing our students. So this is a quick glimpse at a resource room schedule. They do their schedule by 15 minutes, so it just looks a little longer. And she color codes hers, so each color is a different subject. But this is just a quick peek at their day. It's pretty busy. So then we have our life skills. So these students are taught various things based on their ability and goals. Some of the life skills students have one-on-one ed techs with them during the day. So this is all determined by their IEP. So tasks that we do for our life skills student, a lot of personal hygiene. So teaching them how to brush their teeth, some shower, toileting them, nail cutting, deodorant, like general personal hygiene things. We also cook with them a lot, which is really fun. Then we have them clean up after to teach them to wash dishes. We do laundry when we have the opportunity. We also work a lot on social communication. So our students who are nonverbal, we try to put them in a lot of social situations at school. And then transitioning throughout the building is very tough for a lot of our life skills students. So we work a lot on that. We also take our students swimming and out to eat. We go once a month right now. The place kind of raised their prices, so we had to back off a little, but it's great. We go to the YWCA in Lewiston, and then we go to Sam's, and they know us very well, so they're very equipped to handle us all. So we work on how to be in a public setting. They order, they pick up, we practice manners, we go swimming, we practice all the stuff that goes swimming. They have to do a test when they go swimming, so it's a great opportunity for them. And I already said this, but how our ed techs switch out when needed. So this is just a quick glimpse at a life skills student's schedule. So this student has other services, as you can see, like OT, speech, social skills. So this is just a quick peek. We do like to color code everything at DES, as you'll see. This is just also a quick one, which you can read in your notes, but this is actually one of our ed tech subnotes. And as you can see, they have to be very specific. This is for a life skills student who is nonverbal. So you guys can take a minute and read it after, but it's just so you can see how specific we have to be to make this kiddo's day stay the same. So the other part we do is emotional disability. So these are also known as our behavior students, but these are students who have diagnosed emotional disabilities. So they do have IEPs. So a lot of these students are diagnosed with disabilities, so emotional disturbance, PTSD, ODD, ADHD, and more. These students are usually in small groups or have a one-on-one ed tech based on what's determined in their IEP. These students receive social work, social skills, as well as behavior support during the day at school. These students are also involved in our Tier 3 check and check out. It's coming, I promise. We also track each student's individual behaviors using an interval tracking system that our BCBA helped us set up, which is great for data. We then graph the data to show if our interventions are working and how our effectiveness is. So these students often have significant behaviors in our school: physical aggression towards staff or peers, property destructions, and threatening behaviors. These students also have individual behavior support plans and crisis response teams and plans that we write. So this is an example of a schedule. This is actually my schedule, just of how I run things. So I have a lot of small groups. We also try to plan time in there so one of us is available to respond for behaviors. So you can take a closer peek at that. But this is an example of a behavior kids subnotes, and ed tech just clearly in there, like they can never be left alone. They can't be trusted in the hallway, just certain things that are going to help the sub get through the day. A lot of times too, we do switch out subs. So like if we know it's a particularly rough student, we're not going to put a sub with them. We swap out. It's usually me or another teacher. So this was 2 documents that, do you have those, Brian? So you can just scroll through it, but I just wanted you to see this is an example of a positive behavior support plan. So this is specific to a student. It goes through the behaviors that are concerning. It goes through triggers. It goes through what to do after. So all of our behavior students have one of these, and it's a quick glimpse at what you can do to help this student. So it is a long document. It's 10 pages long, so I obviously didn't want to bore you with that, but that's what they look like. So then the other one is our ICMP, which is Individual Crisis Management Plan. So this is kind of the same thing, but what this also does is it has, if you scroll to the bottom, it has a response team. So there's a place to put the case manager, there's a place to put a response team. And so whoever is on that response team knows if this child's name gets called over the walkie, they are responding ASAP. Thank you. So this is our data tracking. We do 15-minute intervals. And at the top, you can see it's designed for every student. So students are working on different issues. This one's non-compliance, off-task, safety concerns. At the bottom, it will always have the definition so that if anyone is working with the student, they know the definition of the behavior and if to check it off or not. There's also a spot on the side that you can circle if the student went to special without an ed tech and you didn't have your eyes on them, which is important. This is an example of our check and check out sheet. At the top, you can see there's goals for the student. So at DES, we use be safe, respectful, and responsible. So at the top of the check and check out, it'll say how this student is working on doing those 3 things. As you can see, I filled one out just so you can see what it would look like, but it gives a space for the teachers, whoever is with them, to write, like if they got 0s, why. So 1s are good, 0s mean we have stuff to work on. We are very careful to say 0s are not bad because we want them to know they can work on it. So this is an example. They carry the sheet around with them throughout the day. They check in the morning with us, like, here's your sheet. What are we going to do today? Here's your goals. And at the end of the day, they come back to us. We tally it all up. If they have their sheet filled out, they get to shop with as many points they have. We have some kids that save. We have some really high ticket items that they save, and some just spend their points every day because that's just who they are. So this is just an example of how we track our check and check out data. So it's just the date, the numbers, how many points they have, how many points left. On the side, you can see we write in if it wasn't filled out or if they lost it, which happens quite a bit because we are in elementary school. So social skills is another thing that we teach. It's an IEP service that students receive and corresponds with our Tier 3 check and check out program. It is taught by special education teachers. It's me and Gina Puya for the most of the time. So these students, again, are grouped based on their needs and goals in their IEP. Lessons typically focus on teaching students the tools they need, so self-management, emotions, coping skills to use in social situations. During this time, we also teach the students a variety of things from executive functioning skills. So we have a lot of kids who simply cannot function. So they don't know what to bring home. They don't know. So these are the students that we work on. We have checklists. We have somebody go help them. Like, you need to make sure this gets home and your backpack and all those things that we just naturally do that they don't know how. We work a lot on communication skills and play skills, such as taking turns and sharing. So I did read that you guys wanted to hear some successes and some challenges. So this is what we got. First one, we're fully staffed. It's very rare. And so Woo, we are pumped. We just got our new employee today. He's fabulous. So that's a big deal for us. This year, we were also able to work together to separate academics and behavior. Last year, things were a little chaotic, and we had academic groups in the same room with students who were struggling, and it just didn't work. So we worked really hard this year at trying to separate as much as possible. It's not perfect, but it's much better. We have 2 students who were not in their classrooms the majority of the day last year, and now they're in their classrooms the majority of the day, except for their IEP pullout services, which is huge. These students have made amazing progress. Our resource room groups are seeing steady improvement from our students doing SDI. This includes students now receiving push-in services versus pull-out. So if we see they're ready to go back to the classroom, we will support them in that transition, which is super fun to do. We also have students who are graduating and entering their general education classroom full-time, which is great. We also now have a dangerous student behavior form. It's not always fun to fill out because the process is having an administrator and a union rep meet with you after you fill it out. But it's very important. There are times at school that we get hurt by our students. And so this form has been helpful, not only for us, but I think for the admin too, to just get together and see how we can make changes. So some challenges that we have. One of them was this student who didn't receive some extended school year services. They needed them but didn't attend. And so what we notice is a very large regression when those students don't do that. So that was a big challenge for a couple of our students this year that just didn't choose to participate in extended school year services. We're also seeing a lot of low stamina in our students compared to before. Writing's a big one. They write a sentence and then they're just done. And so we're like trying to build that stamina. I know it's still early in the year, but time is a huge challenge for us. Planning time, prep time, paperwork time. There's just not enough of it. Another challenge is lack of parent involvement. So we have the parents that are super involved, we have the parents that aren't involved, and then we kind of get the ones in the middle. Obviously, the parents that are involved, we see more positive things from the student. So also our conditions that our students are coming from, which I know you're all well aware, low income, homeless, they're hungry, parents have substance abuse issues. We're seeing a lot more than that, a lot more of that at our school. Another big challenge for us, and I think that this, I don't know if this is only in the special ed department, but late arrival Wednesdays are very tough for us. I was shocked to hear that no one's heard this yet, so I had to add it in here. I did ask Pam about it. It wreaks havoc on our schedules. It really does. It messes with our schedules. It messes with our SDI. So I put an example in here. So a student has reading and writing SDI from 8 to 9 every day, but on Wednesday, that block is gone. So the rest of the day continues as it is, except for that group. So we have to find time in our already very scheduled busy day to make up the SDI. You can't just skip it. You got to make it up. So we scramble to find times to make that up. Oftentimes on Wednesdays as well, our classroom teachers switch their schedule just because of the way things go. And there's also no special on Wednesday right now, which I know we're working on getting a music teacher. That's nobody's fault. But it's a lot. It throws, and I don't know if I wanted to bring it, but I didn't have it, but our behavior data Wednesday is a very hard day for our students. Their schedule is off, they come in late, their schedule is changed, and our students in particular do not deal well with that. So both teachers and ed techs are assigned duties throughout the day at DES. So there's bus duties, office dismissal duty, lunch duty, recess duty, which I understand we all have to obviously help, but this just makes it tough for some of our students. I mean, for some of our staff. I will say that our admin is very good at hearing us. So like if there's a particular staff member that has a duty and is assigned a student that they can't be away from, they are very good at listening and switching for us. So I appreciate that because it's tough. Student behavior is a huge challenge. Student and staff safety. is also a huge challenge right now. We have quite a few high need students right now. We do our best. We brainstorm every day. Our ed techs are awesome. They come to work every day with new ideas of how today is going to be different. So what we need more dedicated planning and prep time. Our ed techs get no regular planning time, which is really hard. We expect them to do all these things, but don't give them time to do it. Prep time that's designated for planning and prep is often taken up by student behavior support. So if you look at the example schedules, some of them say in there prep time. Very rarely does it happen at our school just because we have to help. We're all TCI trained, and if there's a behavior, that comes first. So our leadership team worked on making a new behavior rubric this year because disciplining students is tough. It's tough in the elementary school because you cannot suspend students in the elementary school. Not that I think that's the answer, because I want our kids in our school, but it just makes it complicated because of that law. There's dangerous behaviors. So we just need to work on making sure our staff and parents and students, frankly, are aware of this rubric. I haven't seen it yet. I know it exists, so hopefully we will, once it's finished and all pretty, we'll be able to have a look at it. The other thing is distinguishing between special education behavior, so students who have a diagnosis and an IEP, and general ed student behavior. We really need two programs. That's obviously a whole nother ballgame, but it's hard because most of us who specialize in helping in behavior are special ed teachers. And so if there's other behaviors in the building, I never say no, I will always help. But sometimes those behaviors don't get as recognized because we don't have time to help. So I just wanted to close with saying, and I actually didn't know that you were going to be here today, but I just want to say that we appreciate our school resource officer immensely, and I'm asking to never, ever, ever let him leave. We call him, I don't know, I text him at least a couple times a week. He has been amazing. He's been an awesome addition to our school. He has made us as teachers feel so much better, especially over the summer when we have to let our kids go home. He stays in contact with them. He goes to their house, and it's just a huge relief. There's also been different situations at school with students and their families who are a lot, and he is there, he shows up, and he's ready to support us. So we had to put that in there. And then the second one is just continued support from our administration. Our special ed director always advocates for our staff and students, as well as our administration, and we couldn't do this without that. So I just wanted to make sure that they got recognized as well. So I know that was really long, and I'm glad you're not sleeping, but it's a little glimpse into our life.
Thank you.
You're
Any
welcome.
questions for Brad?
I have a couple.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you. I'm not sure I could do your job. Sounds like it's a lot. I don't know, I listened to that and I got kind of exhausted, and it wasn't so much about how long it was, but I'm trying to imagine this day, these days, which sound like they're sucked up by paperwork.
Yeah.
Nonstop.
Yeah.
I would imagine some of that is statutory, like it's required. That seems absurd that we would have to go that far. But I'd also say that it sounds like a giant waste of you guys' resources to have to do all that, and the change is needed. I don't think there's any question. I've talked to enough folks in your position where if they could just spend more time with their kids and less worried about 15-minute intervals of, Johnny breathed for 15 minutes and then he cried, and that just seems absurd. Also, the need to take this work home for which you're not being paid for is wildly unfair. So you can tell that there's just not enough time during the day. And then the last thing I would say, other than thank you again, because it sounds exhausting. I'm sure it's fulfilling.
It's very rewarding as well. I didn't want to make it sound all bad because it's not.
You didn't even communicate that at all. It just sounds like you guys are in a very rewarding position because you want to see these children make it. What our school shouldn't be is a place where you have to worry about being harmed. And if there are students where their behavior is utterly out of control and cannot be managed, they should not be in the school. There needs to be alternatives. It's as great as Justin is, it's sad that we have to have a resource officer at all. So it seems like there's an opportunity for change, and I don't know how we do that here, but I would say there's an opportunity, if it's possible, to maybe remove some of the BS from their days, because I suspect that they're not paid well enough to justify all the time and stress. But thank you again.
Welcome. Thank you.
Tina?
I asked a question because things have changed, since I was in school. So what you do is just at the elementary school. This is all at the elementary school level.
Correct.
Okay. So what you have is what kids, when I went to school, would have been called learning disability, and then the ones that had physical and other disabilities, and they're all kind of lumped together in your program.
I wouldn't say that. So we have students who have more of our like specific learning disabilities, so academics, go to our resource rooms.
Okay.
So those are, you'll see a little bit bigger groups. They come and they do their work and then they leave.
Okay.
Our life skills and behavior, because of our numbers right now, we work together, but they're not together. Does that make sense? Like they're not
But it's
grouped
like-
together.
Okay.
Yeah.
alright. And then I had a couple questions, like on your ed tech duties. Why are you showering these children? Okay. 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 I was just curious. I wasn't sure. And then, had one other thing. So as far as emotional disabilities, so when kids are coming through like between second and third grade and even first grade, some of them don't know how to react to a lot of things.
Mhm.
How does that play into your program where some of that's just normal behavior, or is that something the teacher usually would deal with?
That's usually something the teacher, so the emotional disabilities piece are kids who come with a diagnosis.
Oh, okay.
So they come with that already diagnosed, and we have had kids graduate from that. We have one that's on the cusp right now, and it's just fantastic. But so we work with them on whatever they need. But
Gotcha.
there's also obviously kids who have behaviors that are
Right.
just
And so,
kids.
when it comes to that, what happens into middle school? Are there programs for them in middle school too? I'm assuming there must be.
I assume so.
There are, okay.
I don't really know much about their
I was
world,
just
so.
curious, so I
Yeah,
wasn't sure.
but we also incorporate, so like when we have fifth graders and we have their annual IEP meetings, we have the middle school staff come to our fifth grade IEP meeting so that they can have a clue and what's coming
Have a plan.
to pass it on. Yeah.
Okay.
And if there's really like students with high needs, like when they transfer there, we do multiple visits instead of just step up day and work with the middle school.
And as far as your cataloging, I don't know what else to call it that throughout your day, because that's a lot.
Yeah.
Is that something that's required by law, or is it something just to keep good records so that you have records of what happened?
I'd say a little bit of both. The stuff from the state, like the written notice, IEP, that's all legal documents. So
Okay.
that's the other stuff, like the data tracking we have to show that it's adversely impacting them at
Oh.
school, and that's how they qualify for services.
Okay.
Right. Did I get that right?
All right, you all set, Tina? Liz?
I know you're at the elementary or DES.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've only worked at middle schools. So, did you ever have in past history a prep time ever? Or is this something that's just kind of like gone away because of so many other responsibilities?
I think that it's depending on our culture at school. So what students we have when, really. There have been, and I will say there are days like today, for some reason, there was 4 kids out and we had a sub. And so like we were able to rearrange so that we got time to do our paperwork. So we get pretty creative like that. But as far as a scheduled prep time, we do our best to put it in there, but 9 times out of 10, it doesn't get, because we need to help the student first, which is
Right.
what I'd prefer anyway.
And then at DES, do the kids move from classroom to classroom like they do at the middle school? Or
So
do
they
s-
have one
stay-
classroom,
They stay
but
there?
if they have services with us, we
Right.
pull them out into a smaller
So they don't
setting.
rotate around?
No, I
like-
mean, they go to like special and lunch and recess, but not for academics.
Because I know,
Oh, I take that back though. Some grades do stagger their math. So like they have a lower level, a medium level, and a high level. So they, like kids will go to different teachers for that subject. But
so you
other
you
than
have
that,
quite a few ed techs anyways, but are you down from what you used to have? Is that why your manpower we can't afford to have more people to help? How do I want to say this? Like I know in the middle school environment,
Mhm.
used to be lots of ed techs and then they've cut it way down.
I don't think we've cut any. No, I
So
think
you
it's
haven't-
just, yeah, I think it's really based on year to year and week to week, what population we have. You know, when you have higher need students that need a 2-on-1 when they're if they're dysregulated, you can't leave one person by themselves. So that's when we have to step in.
Because like
and
I said,
help.
I'm just thinking about the environment at the middle school, I guess, and not so much your environment, which is different. But it used to be like when whoever you were responsible for as an ed tech, when they went to PE or music or specials or whatever, that's when you had your prep time.
Yeah, we go with them a lot. Well, with some of them. In my position, our ed techs go with our students a lot, and sometimes we do. So it's just, if we could add some more hours to the school day, that'd be great.
Well, you do well. believe me.
Thank you. All right.
Any other questions? My only comment, I really like how you rotate the ed techs, because I worked at an elementary and especially when an employee's out and that person's with them all the time, it's very hard, that transition.
Yeah.
To have a new
Yeah.
somebody new, that doesn't work.
No. And our ed techs at DES are the most flexible people I've ever met. So
That's great.
yeah.
So, seeing no, thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
It's
Thank you.
excellent. Thank you. Um, do you know if our 7:30 is here? All right, we just take a minute before. Continue or go on? Excuse me? Okay, all right, thank you. All right, next continue. Next presentation, I don't know what he's called. He's Deputy O or Deputy J. Our resource officer.
Yes, ma'am. I'm really happy to be here in front of the board. I'm sorry that training and then a family issue took me away the last couple of months, but I have been wanting to get here in front of you, one, to talk about my position and what I do. I'm actually glad it's been a little while on the job, so I've been able to figure out exactly how this position works best for our community. But to do that effectively, I wanted to start by just kind of talking a little bit about my background before I came to this community to serve as the student, teachers, and citizens resource. I dropped out of high school. It's very important, I think, to mention that. I'm a product of my environment when it comes to that situation. But I know firsthand how fine a line a lot of young people walk. And I know firsthand how one little push can make a difference. And that matters. But I did have the good sense to join the Army, and I spent the next 5 years as an infantry guy, learning about the world, I guess, through the eyes of the green. When I wrapped up the Army, apart from meeting my beautiful wife, we've been married almost 15 years. We have 2 great kids. I came back and wanted to be a cop. I wanted to work with kids. I wanted to help people. I know it's not wishful thinking. I can't remember the exact words, but you know, I was young and I wanted to really make a difference. And you know, I'm older now and I still want to make a difference. But I found that I was working mostly with adults. I was working in Lewiston, and I got to work with kids at the tail end of their journey on the way to Long Creek. And it wasn't something that I wanted to keep doing. So I thought, I'm going to be a teacher. So I got done with police work for the most part. I still worked part-time for Phippsburg, but I got my conditional elementary license and got to spend the next 5 years, to include COVID extensions, teaching. And it got to the point about a year ago where I thought to myself, okay, well, teaching's wrapping up. I don't want to go be a cop again. What am I going to do? So I finished grad school and was going to be a school psychologist. And I got to graduate from a great program down in Liberty in Virginia back in June. But obviously, I'm not a school psychologist. I got a message from my wife. God bless her. She everything seems to get figured out with her. Back in January-ish, hey, there's this school resource position open, and it probably would be really great for your personality and just your experience. So I submitted my stuff to the deputy Sheriff Wainwright. Next thing I know, I got to meet Dr. Doyen and a couple of our DHS kids with the sheriff, and they welcomed me with the board approval, with community approval, with you know, really open arms. So I really want to thank you all for that. And that's kind of my story a little bit, coming up through to here in this community. I don't take that story lightly, but I think it's important in my line of work. You know, you have to open your own book. When you work with people, you can't expect them to, you know, come to you with their problems, to trust you to help them, unless you yourself are willing to share and open up yourself a little bit to the process. So what do I do here? I'm going to branch it into two things. One, as one would might expect with law enforcement, there's an element of safety. There's an element of working closely with administration, with the superintendent, with all the departments to ensure that our reunification is set, to ensure that, you know, site security is set through, you know, my eyes as a threat analysis and security analysis. You know, it's a combination of law enforcement and the military. A number of projects that I'm working on are long-term, to include how can we better make our schools safer through infrastructure. A few issues off the top of, you know, my head as I talk to you. I'm going off my mental script here. Here at the high school, I know we're all well aware of is it one-way, two-way, three-way, four-way traffic out back through here. So yes, exactly, exactly. In whatever way, and that's of course a problem. So I mean, that's a longer term project that I'm working with each school. Naturally, you know, if there is a concern, you know, once in a while we do have people that shouldn't be on property. Always, you know, small issues that would just get adjusted. And very rarely do I have to work with severe behavior or, you know, what you would naturally think for law enforcement. It is a part of my job. I am a sworn deputy. Absolutely. Safety is priority, but it is not the biggest part of my job, not by a long shot. As important as it is, and as much as I promise everyone in this room, in this community, you know, your kids are my own. And it makes this job easy to look at it that way. But the biggest part of my job is relationships. It's working with kids, it's working with the community, it's working with faculty, to build relationships where there is trust. You know, we're all human. We're all trying to figure it out. If anyone's found a book that explains everything, I would love to take a look at it, because I haven't seen it. But what I have seen in this community is people who are receptive to me being a part of their life, their journey. And when you do it right, And I think I have so far when it comes to building relationships with people. What I find is when someone asks me what I do every day, I can't answer that because it's unique and different for every student, every adult, every person I meet and work with, every phone call I get. Most people in this community have my direct line. No one's ever abused that. I never use my police line. Occasionally I have dispatch call me and say, hey, someone in Dixfield's trying to get a hold of you. I'm like, well, they must not have my line. And I get a hold of them. So what I do every day, it could vary from, hey, Deputy J, I missed the bus. I got to get to soccer practice. Or it could be, hey, Deputy J, I have a strange man. Yeah, I don't know who he is. He keeps messaging me on Facebook. What do I do? I'm getting bullied. I'm getting shamed. And these kids wouldn't reach out to me if there wasn't trust established. And I get to work with them and their families and their homes, in the setting that's comfortable for them. And I always choke up when I explain it because as I talk, I think back to a lot of the experiences I've had in your community, our community, just in the last 9 months. And I find nothing but courage in our students. And I find nothing but a willingness from the staff and from the vast majority of community members to support this new position that I am. And it's different. My program here with you is unique to Dixfield. It's unique to me. I don't think like a road deputy. Again, I have that experience. There is absolutely always safety right here, top of my list. But I come from that social and emotional side of learning, that human side. You know, these kids are learning to figure out who they are. And oftentimes it's very, very helpful just to be a guy in a uniform willing to listen. So I'm missing a million things that I do. The vast, majority of my work with the elementary, it often associates with, trauma at home and abuse. As we gear towards the middle school students, it's a lot more relationship building. I try to teach as many kids as I can cribbage, because I think it's a great old-fashioned main game. Unfortunately, that's, once a month lately, it feels like that I get to do those sort of things. But it's very helpful because those kids come into the high school and they have that relationship built. And then with the high school, it really is a variety of everything from a parent finding out they're being evicted and they just need to talk to, working with the family themselves to connect them with resources. I had a great opportunity to spend 6 months internshipping in social work. Only 6 months, it was an internship, but it at least got a lot of the doors and resources that a lot of people aren't familiar with kind of floating around up here. And it's been wonderful to bring that as well. I'm rambling. I don't call it rambling, but brevity is never my strong suit. So at that point, usually when I'm speaking to a crowd, they're a lot younger and I leave with a bad joke. I won't do that to you guys. But do you at least recognize me now? Will you recognize me tomorrow?
I do recognize you because I
that's-
see you outside with the kids when I go by because you take them outside to the field.
That's right. That's
during
right.
lunchtime.
Knock, knock.
Yes, I see you.
Knock, knock.
Sure.
I thought you said you'd recognize me. All right. Thank you. Is there any questions?
Yeah, any questions?
A lot of you have got to meet. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to thank you. I have kids in all of 3 schools and I've seen you around and your presence makes a big difference. And thank you for your service from one veteran to another.
Oh, amen. Yeah.
I'm one of them. I've seen a huge difference in general.
Thank you. And that's an important point. This, a lot of, what I do too is, even when I'm not doing anything, it's important in this role to recognize that kids are watching. Yes, ma'am.
And I guess she said it, but thank you.
Absolutely. I'll be here.
Thank you. Thank you for making it here. I don't know which one are you. What do they call him? Deputy J, Deputy O,
Deputy
Officer O, and Deputy J, because I've heard Deputy.
J or Deputy Justin. It's Onofrio. But it's always easier. I think Randy started Deputy K and that works. My wife's like, you're not Jason though.
Thank you.
Well, it depends on if it's Randy or Scott.
That's right.
That's right.
Just in case.
Just in case.
I'm waiting on, because we may be having our executive session right now. Do you want to keep going if till they? All right, so I'm gonna move on till I see, oh, yep. Okay, all right, I am going to change what's said in our agenda at 7:30. Enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection B for discussion or consideration by the school board of suspension or expulsion of a public school student. Could I get a motion, please? Bruce, second?
Second.
Second, Julie, all those in favor? Thank you. We will be soon as everyone. Thank you. All right, I entertain a motion pertaining to executive session.
So I move that we allow reentry of a public school student. This would be a conditional reentry provided that the stipulations outlined by the DHS principal are met. And also would move that the board review this conditional reentry at our meeting on December 10th.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All right. Comments are great. All those in favor? It's approved. Thank you. You can go now. All right, we're gonna move to first reading of policy IJNDBR, student computer and internet use rules. Could I have a motion, please? And a second? You can see in yellow what is new and what is Xed out. The policy committee worked with Brian, our technology director, and the policy committee. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Oh, went flying almost. Turn the page. Woo! All right. First reading of policy GCSA, employee computer and internet use. Could I get a motion, please? And a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. First reading of GCSAR, employee computer and internet use rules. Could I get a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second? Comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. First reading of GBEB, staff conduct with students. Could I get a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second? Comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. First reading of BEA, school board use of electronic mail.
So moved.
And that was Brad, a second. This is the first reading. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Last one, first reading of BED, remote participation in school board meetings. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
And, excuse me, and a second. Dawn, comments or questions? We kept this because there are emergencies, which is why it was covered, flooding, whatever, and we had to do something. We never know what comes up anymore. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. There, that wasn't so bad. All right, my feet are numb. Board member comments. This is time boards can make comments. Liz?
I just was gonna have a question if anybody knew how it was working out at the middle school for the boys basketball team this year. Do we have a lot of kids that have gone out for it, or is there how's that going as far as numbers? That's what I'm trying to say. Numbers.
With our changes, right? Yeah.
I'm going to look at our delightful and very intelligent athletic activities director, but the last I heard, there was somewhere close to 40 boys going out for basketball at the middle school. The girls' numbers were less, significantly less, so they will be able to easily go into varsity and JV. The boys, unfortunately, for our new directive, will have a varsity and JV and potential cuts because it won't be safe to have that many boys on the court are working on one team.
Okay, just, I was curious how that all shook out after last year.
Well, we didn't know. It's our first. Brad?
And good news, those Deerfield Middle School girls and boys varsity basketball teams both beat Mountain Valley tonight in their first games of the season. So congratulations to our basketball teams.
As it should be. I did.
Oh, Brad, then Tina.
I've got two things. First thing, well, actually, it's just, I'll save another one for the committee report. So what I wanted to mention is, 2 weeks ago, I went on a volunteer trip to Western North Carolina, and we brought a team of 10 down to Western North Carolina to sleep in the dirt and freeze and cut trees. And we brought loggers and arborists from the area and Western Maine. It was a very successful trip. A lot of great stuff was done. I wanted to give kudos to Mr. Long, who had agreed. Liz helped a bit here to try to find some donations of clothing, and the need changed on a regular basis, almost on a daily basis. And we really settled on, we need generators, heaters, and winter clothing, warm clothing. And Mr. Long was able to help us identify some items in the lost and found, and donated the Cougar Den, and Liz was able to help pick them up. I want to say thank you, Liz, and thank you to Mr. Long and the community. This community wants to work it out, and other schools as well, was very giving to the point where we probably brought 10,000 pounds of items down. So thank you very much.
Tina, go ahead.
A couple of things, but I got sidetracked and I thought, the veterans breakfast that they did and presentation was wonderful. It was very educational for the kids, and I appreciate that. And it was really, really well planned out and done. So thank you for that. The veterans lunch at the middle school was amazing too, and very educational. And, it was nicely done. There was even romantic music playing during lunch. He did a great job. We, as veterans, we got the chance to converse with some of the students and their questions, which was really nice too. So, the second thing, can we talk about this?
Well, it's comment. It wouldn't
Okay.
be on it's not on the agenda.
Okay.
Comment, yes.
Okay, so a comment, my personal feeling is that this is a young man who is from Maine, and this is a pretty common sport here, and I don't know why we wouldn't support that, or how, if there's no policy, why this would be offensive in any way.
Thank you. Anyone else? Don?
I understand, but I just heard this tonight like everybody else, but they have other photos in there with other guns in the yearbook.
I think it was passed. I don't know for sure.
Oh, maybe I misunderstood.
Well, no.
I thought she meant
Yeah,
that there was other
passed.
pictures there of this year.
Yeah.
I guess I'd say I got some mixed feelings. I'm a hunter and I like young kids to get into hunting, but I'm not sure that with all the things that have happened in other schools, shooting and everything else, I'm not sure that's appropriate. Back when I went to high school, everybody that had a pickup truck had a shotgun or a rifle in the back of the truck on school premises. Nowadays, you can't do that stuff. So, I mean, I don't know, if we don't have a policy, maybe we should come up with.
Well, we can look at policies, but it's usually procedure piece of a yearbook, yearbook and newspapers.
Well, I guess whoever decided this, I think I'm gonna side with them. Somebody's doing a good job.
Pam?
So I just want to be clear that I've been Gage's principal for a few years until this year. and I respect Gage and I like Gage a lot. And it has nothing to do, my decision has nothing to do with Gage. My decision on the yearbook since I've been here has been no weapons of any kind, including guns, knives, nooses, whatever, and no drugs and alcohol. Like that's where I've drawn the line in the yearbook. And I do think it's a great picture of Gage and I think it represents Gage. I just don't think it belongs in the yearbook. I think he should give it to all of his family and friends. I know he's also like an avid fisherman and outdoorsman. He could pick a different option for the yearbook is all I'm asking.
Okay. Have a comment. I saw you.
Well, actually, I just wanted to follow up one last thing that I had talked about when we talked about Region 9. I'm presuming everyone read that we did get approved for the bond for Region 9. It's a big asset for the school district for Region 9. It'll allow them to purchase a lot of the equipment to fund and get this new welding lab along with some of the other projects underway. So in case someone had missed it, just wanted to make sure that all board members know that it did pass. All the towns approved it.
I just want, you go ahead then. No, I just want to thank you, Charlie, for the invitation. I was out of town and sounds like it was wonderful. And I'm really glad the play went very well and that, that was great. That was fun. Yes, it was. It was very good.
Not to belabor the photo issue, but if we don't have a standing policy, then I'd be curious as to where does the final decision lie? Because we've got a community member that's brought it up. I had heard about it before, and if it does lie with Pam, and that is how it has always been, then I guess she's allowed to make that decision. But we do have a tradition for a long time. There are pictures in past yearbooks with firearms. I think they're presented, if there's a tastefully, they're presented tastefully and they're not in a provocative manner. I would hate to see us stepping on our heritage for concerns about bad people's behavior. So I'll leave it at that.
And I can only comment is I do know anything in the yearbook or newspapers is always with the administrators because it was red flagged by John. That's how the new administrators knew. So, all righty. And no more comments. We will go to superintendent's report.
I realized I wrote a lot, but I'll try to be fast. So I want just to start with, as you know, many of you already know that our schools went into a brief lockdown last Tuesday. We were advised by the local sheriffs that stopped at the elementary school to go into lockdown. It was a little bit of a complicated situation because we didn't hear anything at the high school or the middle school. So I just asked Jason and Kaylin to go ahead and follow suit until we got a little more information. Got information out as quickly as I could to parents and community members that there was no threat to any of our schools. There were no hoax threats towards any of our schools. It was just out of an abundance of caution that we followed suit, and then we were able to release relatively quickly. As Charlie has noted, and a couple of people here, I just wanted to give a shout out to Charlie and Jason both. They had a great breakfast for the veterans at the elementary school and a luncheon at the middle school. I won't say anything more about that. I did want to say that I attended the National Forum for the Advancement of Rural Education in Savannah, and I was not disappointed. It was a wonderful conference. I attended sessions on recruitment and retention of staff in rural schools, avoiding polarization in rural schools, and many other sessions. The best part of that conference is, I have a booklet here if anybody wants to see it. It's 3 days of, like, you have choices to 25, 30 sessions every hour, and it's all devoted to rural schools. So that's all your focus is on rural schools, which is uncommon because usually when you go to a big national conference, kind of the big schools get all the time. One idea that did come up to me during this conference was maybe hosting a 15-minute before each board meeting, 6:15 to 6:30, just maybe have drinks and snacks out and just have people come in and just meet your board. Just because that way we can talk to people, you can talk to each other. When we get to know each other and about humans to each other, it's a lot less likely that we'll do polarization. And we want to continue to focus on forward progress at our Derigo schools. So if you're amenable to that, I will put it with the next agenda and just pick up
Breaking
something.
bad bread makes a difference. So if you have a little.
What are you making?
What am I making? When I say I'm making something, I mean I'm going somewhere and buying it and bringing it in. Let's be clear.
Can we make it, I know it doesn't mean a requirement to be here from like 6 to 6:30, just leave that. We're usually here by then, right?
Yeah, I didn't know if we wanted to go too long or if we just wanted to kind of keep it short and sweet for the start. I will do whatever the board pleases. I just think it would be nice to have an opportunity, even if there's not a lot of community here, you're talking amongst yourself. If community's here, they have an opportunity to talk to you, not about business, but just really, like, it was nice talking to Brad at the play when I asked him about his trip down to help with the hurricane victims, because we don't normally have the time to just be people with each other. And I think it would be nice to be people. Bringing me to the play, I want to thank Brad and Barbara for attending Treasure Island on November 2nd. Brad did help with the ticket sales. I also want to thank Jay Nicholson and Meg McFarland for greeting people and selling tickets as well. It's a little scary. It's a little scary that we put Jay in charge of the money, but he did great. He said he couldn't count it up, but it was counted perfectly. Kathy Wilcox, I also need to give a shout out to. She was there all week as the go-to person between RSU 56 and Missoula Theater. She said she was tired by the end of the week because she was here for work all day, and then she stayed until they finished at 7:15 each night. I also want to thank Scott White and Randy Hamlin. They did a great job making sure our stage was ready. Aaron Arsenal went out of his way at the end when they were cleaning up. He helped with the cleanup, and they had pieces that wouldn't come apart, and he actually took them down to the vise, and he just did a great job. And Cam Dubé, who's a senior at Derigo High School, stayed and helped them completely take down the set and get it in the truck and hauled away. So that was great to see. I also want to thank Tom Kelly, who worked that day, because everything looked great when we came in. And then I think that's everybody that worked that day. The most recent report from Kenny is that we'll be in the garage, the new bus garage, by December. It's really close. And then over the last few weeks, because it's been 3 weeks since we met, so I'm sorry that I'm long-winded tonight, but I did want to give you a shout out to some staff across the district. I went into Yami Hamalanen's class up at the middle school, and they were doing like this Jeopardy game with history facts, and they were so engaged, and I was so embarrassed that I didn't know a lot of the answers, but they did. So that's the really important part. It was great. I also want to give a shout out to Katrina Nutt. She's been filling in here as the person in charge at the high school in nutrition while we're trying to hire. She's doing an outstanding job. There's been some of us that feel like she could potentially take that, but she's happy to go back to the middle school in her regular position. Rachel Bach, she did a quick trip to Madrid over this long weekend because if you recall, she's bringing a group of students to Madrid in the spring, and she wanted to make sure she knew how to navigate everything and what they needed to do. So yeah, she said it was wonderful, but tiring. Jesse Heath, along with his regular job, has already given me a draft of the 25-26 school calendar. So he's well on the ball. I want to also thank Olaf Johnson and Aaron Pelletier. They've been working tirelessly with our speech and debate team, and as been the case year after year, they're doing very well and performed really well thus far in their competitions. Sarah Millage, who is a Derigo High School graduate of not too many years ago, is one of our Title I ed techs at the elementary school. When I was at the Title I meeting last week, she shared a game that she had worked with her students on with the rest of the Title I ed techs, and they were all pretty excited. So now they have another thing in their repertoire of skills to use with their students. I want to thank two people in one. Charlie Swan for reaching out and thanking Jim Hamalainen for having the band go over and play for the veterans. So Charlie for recognizing it, and Jim Hamalainen, who has just done an outstanding job bringing music back to our Derigo schools. And then last but not least, I want to note Heidi Broomholm. She's our world language teacher here at the high school. She hosted the annual taste testing of roasted grasshoppers and bread of the dead in conjunction with the important Mexican holiday Day of the Dead. And certainly more adventurous than I am, Miss Thompson tried the fare. And with that said, it is time for Miss Thompson to do her report.
My granddaughter ate cheddar She brought him crickets.
Yeah.
They were cooked. She ate them.
All right. Well, so I'm Kaylin Thompson. I am super excited that I get to be here and to talk to you all about some positives that are going on at Deergo High School. The first one I wanted to talk with you about is, and I know you've heard of our bar implementation, or at least I've been told that there was, that was presented to you in the past. But one thing you might not know is that because you're a bar school, that was one of the reasons I applied to this school. I really, really believe in sort of what bar does for high school, middle schools. We're in our second year of implementation, and it's really working to provide strength-based support for students. Something you also might not know about me is my undergrad, I double majored in mathematics and secondary education. And so BAR also does a piece of its data collection to see if your interventions are effective. And I think that's really important because we get in a room and we can talk and speculate, but is the data showing us improvement? And so I'm really excited to, over the implementation, really look at that data and make adjustments as needed to support kids and community. A little bit about I never said my undergrad was in technology. But let's see. Okay. So I don't want to, over talk if you've already had this presentation, but just a sort of reminder of what it entails for our teachers and sort of parts of the day. There's small block meetings and they're grade level meetings. So 4 times a week. You have a 9th, 10th, 12th, 11th, and 12th grade, and our staff are expected to pick 2 of those meetings sort of during the long lunch block. So they get their lunch and then they go to those meetings. Our big block meeting, it's 1 time a week and it's on the late arrival Wednesdays. And I know, there's discussion around those late arrival Wednesdays and whether they're important, like how that structure affects, we heard earlier about special ed and how it affects, and I totally get that. I really, really love the fact that our faculty can come together in the morning and talk about students. And one thing that I can say, after being in multiple different high schools, I worked in a high school in northern New Mexico. I've been the principal of a high school in Vermont. Is that I'm just so truly impressed by our staff during these meetings and their focus on problem solving. Once again, you can get into a meeting and it can sometimes tail off to focus on the problem and not the solution. And our staff does a phenomenal job really getting to the solutions. Like, what can we put in for an intervention to try and support this kid? Then let's check back in. Is the intervention working or do we need to adjust? And I just have continued to be impressed by that. And it moves up through levels. So our big block, that Wednesday time is vital to us at the high school. We have community connect meetings on Thursday mornings. That's where the nurse, myself, social worker, and guidance counselor meet for any really at-risk students. Those are great. Our Justin, Deputy Jay, has popped into one, but just really trying to navigate what resources outside of just the school do we have to support students. And then last but not least, there's the coaches meetings. That's where someone from the bar organization works with myself and Kurt Rowley to sort of guide us through this process in our second year. And I've really, really just appreciated learning the whole process. I did not come from a bar school in Vermont. I just really believe in the steps and the process of bar. And like I said, it was one of the selling points for Deergo High School to get me here. So monthly data that we're looking at and that we send to our bar coach are twice a month. We pull failure rates by grade level, and then we also pull at the end of the month a daily attendance rate per grade level, and we're looking at those. Those are two of our sort of focal points for data. And when we are sitting in meetings and we're talking about interventions, we're sort of focused on what things can we do during the school day or after school program or contact home, to support students in these areas, along with many more. Another awesome thing that's going on at Deergo High School is we have a phenomenal guidance counselor. Once again, I have had the privilege and opportunity to be at several different high schools, and I can attest that Brenna Parent is just, truly a star in this role. A couple things for just updates for the work she's been doing. She was here quite a bit over the summer, updating credit accounting so that she could start day one with students knowing exactly where they're at, what they need to graduate, and just be able to support them through that. She worked through some schedule changes to get a handle on, with a small school, being meticulously thoughtful about what blocks we're putting where and what's on an A day and what's on a B day. You can maximize, access to content. And so that's something her and I will be working with. We're going to be really looking to see what should be placed where in our Bell schedule and in our master schedule in order to meet the most needs of our student body. But she was on that this summer, and just working on fine tuning our add drop process as well. Over the fall, she started our senior check-ins, which basically is these short meetings with the seniors individually, where she's reviewing their current schedule, looking over their credit accounting with the students, and then outlining sort of post-secondary plans with them, along with relevant information such as, if they are planning to go to college, SATs, financial information, scholarships, should we be connecting them with the military? Are we looking at jobs? And so she's just been connecting with our seniors through that process so that we're really focusing on that support throughout their senior year so that when we hand them the diploma, they're feeling confident about their next steps, whatever that might be. We've also taken the main 3-year assessment this year. That's for sophomores testing math and English. Pleasantly surprised because I don't think I've been in a school that has had 100% completion on this. So we had all of our sophomores take this, and I would say I felt like they took it seriously. And so being a math person, and I want to also put out there that standardized testing or testing in general is one data point to a whole kid, right? But if we're going to take that data point, let's do the best we can, right? And so we decided not to have all students test in the SCC and up in individual classrooms with proctors. I think that helped with some of the change around the effort there. And then our plan is Brenna and I will review each of these assessments we already have the scores, and we'll sit down with each sophomore on a quick rotating schedule to go over their data, and then talk a little bit about what their thoughts are for sort of their post-secondary plans. Normally, probably a principal wouldn't be in these meetings. I just thought it would be a great way, one, for me to establish that I want students to try when we take these assessments and take them seriously. Part of it, you can see how long it took for a student to take the assessment. So are they taking it in 10 minutes? Are they taking it in 45? I can see that. But also just as a new person to the school, it is also a great way for me to get to know kids in the sophomore class and just hear from them. So those will be sent home with the report cards, but we're going to sit down with the students first and just talk a little bit with them and review that data so that it doesn't just sort of disappear into thin air. They take a test and they don't know what came of it. The last sort of piece that I wanted to put out to you all in the community is we also have a phenomenal ELO coordinator, Noah Preble. And he came on in the spring. I'm not sure exactly when, but right after April break. And so he's also getting his bearings in his role and trying to figure out what that means for our community. But it's just an awesome addition to our community and something that I wanted to put out to you all and just word of mouth spread this to everyone because I think this is going to be phenomenal for our kids. So he's working on sort of hands-on credit bearing experiences outside of the traditional classroom. It's meant to emphasize community-based career exploration. And so basically all a student needs to do is have an interest and connect with Mr. Preble. And then he will look for community internships and jobs and do all that paperwork. But really, really important for students to get that experience. And we have them right here in the building. So making sure we're putting that out to kids as much as humanly possible, that's a resource for them. Right now, we have a freshman taking a computer coding course online through an ELO. He is in the process of setting up 2 of our juniors at a local auto body shop. He's connecting with ELO coordinators to expand his program because he's new and he's just trying to get his feet on the ground. But he's also teaching 2 sections of robotics as well. And I've been in his class and he does great work with those students. So those sort of 3, I mean, there's so much I'm sure you would have questions for me, right? I'm new to your community. There's so much I could talk about. But if I had to pick 3 things that I wanted to get out as quick as possible, those would be the 3 things, bar what our guidance is doing for our students and our ELO coordinator position.
Any questions? Yes, it does. You're a data person. It just made me smile. I go, she's a data nerd like Jason, but it's good because they want us to have the data, but you got to utilize the data. And but it is Kathleen.
Yes. I have a question about BAR. The data you collecting, does it go outside of the RSU 56?
We do provide it to our bar coach that works with us. And I think because bar is through a grant, they require that for their own sort of paperwork and follow up on their end. But outside of that, no. It's been internal use only as of right now. Yeah.
Hey, any other questions? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yes.
All
Go
right, so I'll
ahead.
keep going. So reporting of new hires, Randy DeRose Jr. is our new learning facilitator in special ed at Derigo Elementary School. Heather Bishop has been hired as a van driver. We have some stipend and coaching positions. Derigo High School Girls Junior Varsity Basketball is Matt Libby. Derigo High School Unified Basketball Coach Chris Arugio. The Middle School Boys Junior Basketball Coach Stacy Knight. And the Middle School Nordic Assistant Coach Ethan Kutcher that came in after this initially went out. And we have a transfer. Wanda DePalma from nutrition has moved to a van aide.
All right. Committee reports. We don't have, we're still.
We actually are working on it, and I know at least one student has expressed interest, so Ms. Thompson is continuing to work on the student rep. 3
Good.
students have interest.
All
Perfect,
right,
thank you.
Thank you. Policy committee, we had the first readings. We only have 2 tech ones left. We did put out another one for the administrators and the nurses to look at, and our meeting is what, December 10th? Yes. Okay, curriculum committee.
I was asked to read this marriage statement by Jason Long. He did. He literally typed it in front of me. He said, read this. And then I'll add something. The curriculum committee met and reviewed the work ongoing with Region 9 for the next credit transfer agreement and had an update regarding Magic School AI and a video that will be released to explain the concept to the community. I arrived a little late, but what I'll add to it, Mr. Long put on a bit of an update about the school's use of artificial intelligence. Magic School was chosen as, I guess the best way to put this is to keep it safe. It's very fenced in, so none of the data that we provide within the software leaves our program. Mr. Long wanted to make it pretty clear he's going to put it out within the school social media and so on and so forth. A little video presentation he did. It's very short, but I would encourage you to, members of the community, anybody here, school board members, watch it. It's 4 or 5 minutes. It's not very long. I think we should give Mr. Long a lot of credit for putting time and energy into carefully and judiciously walking us into this this new brave new world here. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Buildings and grounds. Okay. Negotiations, we started and we have dates, which next one's November 20th. And we are going to be starting with teachers. Personnel?
Typically this time of year is fairly slow for personnel committee. We still have had some interviews ongoing, so thanks to everyone that have been involved in that. Know of a few more scheduled upcoming.
Did we already talk about the ad hoc? I know. All right, I know there's one scheduled.
And can I just announce that the Dropout Prevention Committee will meet November 26th at 5 o'clock?
And who is that? Do you remember who's on that? I don't.
Brad and 5 o'clock on the 26th. I will email whoever it is specifically that's on that
I
committee.
should put the list. What? Well, I know
We will
there's
catch you up.
another, yeah, I
There is
know
somebody
there's
else
another
on it.
board member. Yeah,
I think we can make that happen.
okay. Okay. Yep. Huh? I skipped finance. Oh my, I'm so sorry, Carl. And you have a meeting.
Tomorrow at 5 o'clock.
He's had a very successful harvest this year, right? All right. Thank you, Cindy, for telling me. We already did the other one, so all I need is a motion to adjourn. All right. And a second, all in